Hello my friends and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about the areas that lie north of the currently released areas of Mondstadt. While it may be a bit before Mondstadt Expansion is released, I still wanted to get my current thoughts out and just share some ideas. So with that said, let's get straight into the video. Introduced by name all the way back at launch in version 1.0, Dornman Port is located somewhere to the north of the city of Mondstadt. While its precise location is not known at this point, we can assume from multiple character dialogues it is located quite far north, as it is being described as quite far away. In the world quest Time and Wind, the character Henry Morton states that the nameless island with the sundial located east of Mondstadt is too far away from Dornman Port to travel there by boat. Additionally, a signpost in Port Ormos talks about a potential trading route of fruit between the two ports, but it is questioned on how fresh the fruit could be after such a long journey at sea. During the Weinlese Fest in version 3.1, the route between Dornman Port and Mondstadt City had to have most of the attention of the Knights of Favonius Reconnaissance Company, not only due to the increased traffic from the event, but also likely from how long and potentially dangerous the route could be as well. Being a port, Dornman Port is obviously quite a big shipping area, most likely receiving cargo from Liwa Harbor, Rito and Inazuma, and even Snezhnaya. If Snezhnaya stretches across the north of Teyvat, much like its real-life basis of Russia, it is possible that Dornman Port could reside near the border of Snezhnaya and Mondstadt. This would mean that Dornman Port is likely a colder place than the rest of Mondstadt, being super far north and all, but maybe not as cold as frigid Dragonspine. It could also mean we could get some lore about Snezhnaya and the Fatui Harbingers here, and also just see a different side of Mondstadt. Speaking of a different side of Mondstadt, I'd like to talk about the mythical Dandelion Sea. From the in-game book, The Fox in the Dandelion Sea, it is quite literally a sea of dandelions, stretching as far as the eye can see. Currently, it's not known if this place is real or not. Sage outside of Mondstadt talks about it and how it's real, but his parents, Parsley and Rosemary, keep it to themselves that they believe it's not. Dandelions are quite important to Mondstadt in any case, so who knows, this mysterious place could really exist. As for its location, I think it would be on an island in the middle of the ocean, closer to the Dark Sea. Perhaps it was even a sacred place, where people worshipped both the Animo Archon and the God of Time a long time ago. This place also reminded me of Sucrose and her fifth character story. In her childhood, Sucrose always dreamed of a magical place in a far-flung corner of Teyvat. It was an undiscovered domain with giant pink flowers, fairies, unicorns, and more. While not exactly the Dandelion Sea, perhaps there is a place somewhere in Teyvat, maybe even off on an island like I said, where these mystical and fantastical lands really do exist. They could be caused by remnants of old gods, and a trip to these lands would help us understand more about the Archon War and all of what happened back then. Even though the Dandelion Sea might not be real, these ideas are still fun to think about. But what is real is Dornman Port, so I'd like to now talk about a few potential plot ideas and why we journey up north. First up, I'd like to discuss the Abyss Order and what their plans may have to do with this area. We actually know from Eula and Yanfei that the Abyss Order has been active in Dornman Port before. Yanfei once worked as a consultant for some cargo on the port, not knowing the cargoes for the Abyss Order. Eula was on patrol here and discovered this, and then went on to save Yanfei and stop the Abyss Order. While the Abyss Order may now be a bit wary of Eula and the Knights of Favonius Reconnaissance Company, they may still try to attempt something in the area. Perhaps somewhere around Dornman Port is where the inverted statue of the Seven, seen in the We Will Be Reunited Archon quest, was stolen from. This could mean we may run into Dainsleif here again, and he could be investigating something the Abyss Order is up to here. Now, as I mentioned before, Dornman Port may be quite close to Snezhnaya, which means it is likely there are quite a few Fatui in the area, and we could have some conflicts with them as well. For the Fatui, Dornman Port would probably be an essential area for business, as its location would make it one of the best ports for imports to Snezhnaya. There could even be another branch of the Northland Bank located here, much like how there is one located in Liyue Harbor. Perhaps we may even run into a Harbinger here. It could be Tartaglia again, there for a random assignment and to get some souvenirs for his family, or it could be a Harbinger who we haven't met in game yet. It could be Pantalone, perhaps visiting the Dornman Port branch of the Northland Bank on a regular checkup mission or something of the like. We could even get an interlude Archon quest revolving around this Harbinger, which could give us more insight into the Harbingers and the Fatui's goals, as well as their more day-to-day work. It might even show us that the Fatui's plans aren't necessarily bad, they just have to take drastic measures to get things done. Either way, there's a lot of potential for plots here, be it from the Abyss Order, the Fatui, or maybe even a certain green bard who would definitely have some lore bits here and there in this Mondstadt expansion. But that's enough about plots, as there's one more topic I want to touch on before I end this video. Just like yesterday's video on an expansion to Liyue, this final section will be about some new character ideas that I've brainstormed for this Mondstadt expansion. This time, I have 3 ideas for characters. One for Dornman Port, the next for the Dandelion Sea, and the final one from Snezhnaya. For the local of Dornman Port, I was thinking of a fruit seller. The reason I came up with this was because of the signpost in Port Ormos that I mentioned earlier, with a fruit seller from Mondstadt wanting to export their goods all the way down to Port Ormos. I think it would be really cool to actually meet this person, and for them to be playable. It would be really nice world building, plus it would be kind of interesting if the signpost was hinting towards a character like this all along. Anyways, for their vision, they would be quite ambitious, so I was thinking either Electro or Pyro. And as for their rarity, I was thinking of a 4-star support. Now, as for the Dandelion Sea character, I was thinking they wouldn't be from the Dandelion Sea, but would rather be devoted to discovering it. They could be an explorer in the northern Mondstadt areas, trying to find hints about the Dandelion Sea and where it could be located. I think they could be a Dendro character, as they would have quite a powerful dream in discovering the Dandelion Sea. Plus, Mondstadt doesn't have a Dendro character just yet, so it would be a nice addition. As for their rarity, perhaps a 5-star would fit them, and they could be a support and shielder, defending their dreams and not giving up. It would also be rather cool that if the Dandelion Sea did exist, they would be the one to get us there. Perhaps during their story quest or even an interlude Archon quest, we would help them find the final pieces of the puzzle, and we would go to the mystical lands of dandelions together, discovering all sorts of new and interesting things. Now, onto the final character I thought of, a new character from Snezhnaya. Currently, we only have one playable character with the Snezhnayan vision, that of course being Tartaglia. He is of course a Fatui Harbinger, but people other than the Fatui live in Snezhnaya, so I wanted this character to not be a member of the Fatui. My idea is that this character is simply visiting Dornman Port for whatever reason, and we happen to bump into them. As for what they would be doing, I think they just may be on vacation to a slightly warmer place or visiting family or friends. Even though Dornman Port would still be a cooler area, it's going to be warmer than Snezhnaya. If they're visiting family or friends, perhaps one of those people could be one of the other characters I mentioned earlier. They may have grown up together in the same place in Mondstadt or Snezhnaya, but one of them left to go to the other region to live for one reason or another. As for their rarity and vision, I think they could be a 4-star Geo character. They would be quite down to earth, so not only would a Geo vision fit as a pun, but Geo characters are often more focused on daily life, so someone who's just on vacation would fit just that. Plus, we haven't even had a new Geo character since version 2.4. Dornman Port and the rest of northern Mondstadt may be a little bit away, as there is still one more Sumeria expansion, as well as Chaoying Village and Shenyu Vale that will most likely release before Fontaine, leaving a Mondstadt expansion to come sometime after. Either way though, it's still fun to speculate and throw some fun ideas around. Before we know it, maybe in a year's time or so, we'll be looking back at this video and seeing what predictions I got right or wrong. Throughout that time, I may even do a few small videos on new lore drops relating to these areas, and give new predictions with what new information we have. Of course, there are still tons of possibilities for northern Mondstadt and the surrounding areas, so I'd love to hear all your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, that's it for this video though. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.